It's a snow day, and I'm headed to LaGuardia. Today my flight is to Orlando MCO. I'm not checking a bag, so I'm going right to security. Today is going to be a unique day for LaGuardia Airport operations. It's around noon, and after 5 p.m., the airport is going to shut down because the February 2026 North American blizzard has just started. I need to get to Florida, and this is my only way out today. Let's go airside. All right, everybody, I am post TSA here at my favorite airport, LaGuardia Airport. Today is a snow day. Delta is pretty much ending their operations by 5 o'clock. I was scheduled to be on a flight that was operating around 3:30. I switched it to a 1:30 because I don't want anything to happen. I can't wait. I'm headed over to a place where I can grab a bite to eat. Today, LaGuardia is using runway 13 for departures, and as you can see here, the views are going to be less than ideal after takeoff. This is not going to be one of my Great Manhattan Views videos. No matter what the climb today, we're only going to be able to see the ground for a few hundred feet before being immersed in a sea of white. Departures off of runway 13 either fly straight out or turn right based on their assigned climb. We'll do one of them today when we take off, but it's kind of irrelevant from a view standpoint today. Here's my aircraft, which just arrived from sunny Miami. Today, it's an A321, which, as you know if you watch this channel a lot, I dread. It's too big and the windows are too small. A 737 or an A220 or even a regional jet would be ideal for me, but I'm on a high-capacity route. Orlando is the 5th busiest destination from LaGuardia, and 6 airlines serve this route. Today, as I am very often, I'm on Delta because I'm really close to becoming a million miler, and this flight brings me closer to getting gold status for life. The snow is coming down. All departures are being de-iced today. De-icing for Delta occurs out on the Delta ramp or out on the other side of the airport closer to runway 13. Today's call sign is Delta 1305. Now, I just got a message on the Delta app saying that flight 1305 has been canceled, but it's still operating. So why did I get that message? Well, it's a round-robin flight. Once the flight arrives at the Orlando airport, it's going right back to LaGuardia under the same flight number, and they've canceled the return leg because they're doing a lot of cancellations today. They don't want to keep any airplanes at LaGuardia overnight or later in the day because it's going to start snowing really bad soon. Telling me my flight was canceled when it wasn't sure was poor communication, and it really confused other passengers. But there are many departures that were indeed canceled, as you can see from this FID screen. Now, I wonder how many people got that message about the flight being canceled, which it wasn't, and they actually didn't come to the airport. I don't know. It's kind of scary when you get that message saying your flight's been canceled, even though, you know, it's not. It's just a little bit of a glitch in the system, I guess. Today is considered an IROPS day for sure. So things are going to get really bad once my flight leaves the airport. And like I said, I changed to an earlier flight. There just won't be any operations at all this evening. As a matter of fact, it looks like Delta connection flights are only operating until around 1 o'clock, and mainline is ending around 5 p.m. today. Today, my flight is leaving from the 80s concourse, a concourse that my flights are often assigned to. It's beautiful in here, and being inside the terminal is the last form of beauty that I'm going to see because it's nasty outside. Today I have a strategic seat selection on the left-hand side of the plane for the Manhattan view, but we know that's not going to happen today. I'm all about picking the best side for the best views based on the winds. There will be no view at all today. Well, the good thing about the seat selection on the left-hand side of the airplane is that once we get above the clouds, there will not be any sun on that side of the aircraft. I'm enjoying the inside of this terminal and its bright atmosphere before I board my delayed flight to Orlando. For now, it's only delayed 10 minutes. The snow is coming down, and it's not sticking to all surfaces, but every airplane is getting de-iced. All right, I am at the gate here, and I am able to see the aircraft. Not a head-on view, a little bit off to the side, but I'm happy about this. Today, the flight is delayed about 10 minutes. It's showing an on-time arrival, but of course, we are going to have to get de-iced, so that is going to add a little bit of time onto the flight itself. Today, our initial departure fix, of course, will be white, the standard departure fix. So I'm expecting radar vectors to the white intersection. Whether we get a right-hand turn and head south via the Nathan's departure, or do a left-hand turn via the Whitestone climb or the Tennis climb, it's really not going to make much of a difference today because we're not going to be able to see any of New York City. I'm excited about this. Can you believe it? After all of these flights out of LaGuardia Airport for decades, I have never been on an aircraft that's been de-iced out of LaGuardia. It's going to happen today for the first time. Exciting. I've been on many flights that have been de-iced before, but never at LaGuardia Airport. Boarding will begin shortly, and the aircraft is being prepped for departure. We're 10 minutes late, waiting for crew. As we wait, I'm checking out another Delta A321 climbing off of runway 13. Like all the other departures, this plane will not be returning to LaGuardia tonight. The idea is to get all the planes out, including mine, so they don't get stuck in the snow in New York City. I should be boarding in a couple of minutes. They're just waiting for flight attendants. That's what I kind of suspected the delay was about. As I waited, I looked up at a TV monitor showing images of the old Central Terminal building. I really do miss that building. The new terminals are gorgeous, but they don't fix the airspace congestion issues. But today there are no airspace issues at all, and traffic is light. Arrivals getting right in, and departures are getting right out, since the bad weather is spread around a wide area that can be flown through. There's no one cell blocking any route of flight. The time is 1:30, and I'm boarding with Group 4. Runway 13, here we come. All right, heading back to the back of the airplane right now. Looks like today we're going to fly the Coney climb. I actually went to the flight deck and spoke to the pilots just now. Doesn't really make a difference. Won't be much of a view anyway. I didn't realize that the FAA is still using the Coney climb, which is basically the same as the Nathan's departure. The Coney climb is a legacy climb, and like the Nathan's departure, it calls for a right turn after takeoff to the south, which is the direction that Florida is in, so there are minimal turns after that. My seat selection on the left-hand side of the plane was made with the hope that this climb would not happen. I would be upset if the weather was clear, as the Manhattan view would be on the right side, but I'm comforted by the fact that no one will see anything on takeoff since the weather is poor and the ceiling is low. There's something else that comforted me. Despite the mad rush for everyone to get out of the airport since the evening flights were canceled, the seat next to me remained empty. It was occupied when I looked at the seat map earlier in the day, but I'm thinking that maybe whoever was in that seat saw that the flight was incorrectly canceled and made the change to another flight. The Delta app actually gave me the option to rebook onto another flight after showing that my flight was erroneously canceled. With all standbys cleared onto the flight, there were a handful of seats that remained empty. I was really not expecting that at all. We're now more than 10 minutes behind schedule. The time now is 2:12 p.m. and the door is closed and we're ready for pushback. This delay was caused by the gate agent coming on board and looking for about 15 passengers. He even came to my seat to ask me if the passenger next to me ever took the seat. I told him it remained empty the whole time. Something was strange about that experience for sure, but I'm focused out the windows as we push back into the ramp between these 70s and 80s gates. With water and ice sticking to the windows, it was hard to focus the camera. I can't wait till we're in the air and above the clouds. Everything will be washed away. Our pushback, of course, is performed by the tug attached to the nose, pushing us back. This A321 can't move backwards on its own. Once the nose is pointed in the correct outward direction, we're pulled forward to the tug release position. Now at this point, I have no idea if we're going to get de-iced here on the Delta ramp or what's known as the Echo pad on the other side of runway 4 and very close to our departure runway. The de-ice assignment position has already been assigned to the pilot, so he knows already. I'll have to wait and see what happens. Above the wing is another Delta A321 being de-iced on the Delta ramp. Once this plane is done with de-icing, it can call ground control and taxi directly to the runway. In a moment, we're going to call ground control and we'll inform the controller that we'll be going to the Echo pad today. At the time that we call ground, the A321 that we see out there will be ready to taxi, and Tara will have us follow that A321 on the left toward the departure runway. We won't be able to go directly to the departure runway because we'll have to hold short of runway 4, the arrival runway, along the way. Let's call ground control.
Delta 1305 at spot 16, information QLED for Echo Pad de-ice.
Alright, Delta 1305 for the Echo Pad. Do you see your company? It should be. It says lane 14. Do you see them coming out of the lane?
Yeah, we see them off our left side coming out of 14 Bravo pad there.
Yeah, I can't really see out the window here. So behind them, taxi Alpha Echo, hold short runway 4 for the Echo Pad, Delta 1305.
Alright, behind the guy coming out of de-ice, Alpha Echo, shorter runway 4 for the Echo Pad, Delta 1305.
It's hard to see with all the ice and snow in the window, but it's just to the left of our winglet. You can see it's starting to make a right turn to join the active taxiway system in taxiway Alpha, where it will make a left turn behind the first A321. Because that plane is moving, we've started to move forward, and once we reach taxiway Alpha, we'll make a left turn all the way to taxiway Echo, where we'll hold short of runway 4 for landing traffic. Taxiway Echo is halfway down runway 4, and we'll cross runway 4 once the controller tells us to at its midpoint to allow runway 4 arrivals to slow down to vacate runway 4 on taxiways beyond Echo. We had no interruptions at all during our taxi, so let's move forward to the critical crossing of runway 4.
Stop 1305, turn right Echo, cross runway 4, chop 3 mile final.
Alright, right turn on Echo, we'll cross 4, copy the traffic, Delta 1305.
We can cross runway 4 and traffic is on a 3-mile final. Typically, I'd be looking out for traffic on approach, but we can't see anything today. We're relying on the tower, who has the arrival on final approach on his radar scope. There's plenty of time for us to safely get across runway 4 before that plane touches down. Let's make the crossing. Okay, we're on the other side of runway 4, and it's time to get de-iced. The de-ice pad is straight ahead of us, and to enter the pad, we need to get handed off to what's known as the Iceman. This is another non-FAA controlled frequency that has been set up during the snowstorm to manage traffic entering the de-ice pad, manage the planes getting de-iced, and the traffic management of planes leaving the pad. It's now time for the handoff to the Iceman.
And Delta 1305, you give the Iceman a call, see whether they'll take you in.
1305, we'll go.
The frequency for the Iceman is not available for the purposes of this video, but the Iceman will tell us where to enter the Echo pad, where to wait for our turn, and where to go when it's time to get the aircraft in the actual de-ice position. At the end of taxiway Echo, it's a right turn to enter the pad. Today, there are other airplanes in the de-ice pad, so once we enter the area, we'll have to wait a bit for the other aircraft to get de-iced. We're going to sit in one spot for about 5 minutes before a position opens up for de-icing. As you can see, there are very few airplanes here. Typically, there are a couple of corporate aircraft that park around here, but most of them have left because the owners do not want their airplanes snowed in for a few days at LaGuardia Airport. They won't be able to be used at all if they're not out by around 5 p.m. All those cars that we see out there are cars of employees. Many of them will be staying past 5 p.m., even if there are no flights. This includes teams that need to maintain the terminal, clear snow from roadways, taxiways, and runways, and the controllers in the air traffic control tower. Someone needs to be available in the tower at all times in case there's an emergency and an aircraft needs to divert to LaGuardia, but chances of LaGuardia being used as a diversion airport are pretty low. The airport is rarely used as a diversion airport to begin with, and with the snowstorm coming, that reduces further the likelihood of flights diverting here. From this side, we're looking at Bowery Bay and the bridge to Rikers Island. There's a Delta CRJ aircraft parked there with some shrink wrap on it. I guess that plane won't be leaving tonight and will get covered with snow. During non-snow events, which is most of the time, this area can be used as a holding area or a parking area. For now, we're holding this position as we wait for the Iceman to call us into one of the available de-ice positions. I can't hold back my enthusiasm as I wait for the exciting moment of de-icing to come from here at LaGuardia Airport. We'll be in this spot for the next 5 minutes or so before we move forward once again. Alright, we're just waiting to get de-iced, and you can feel the wind pushing the aircraft right now. The storm is just in its beginning phases, but it's going to get really intense later on. The storm is going to cause whiteout conditions and will drop up to 2 feet of snow across the region. While driving into the airport, I saw signs telling me to stay home, but at this point, it was still safe to travel. And it's safe for us to fly because we're going to get de-iced and then proceed directly to the runway when it's done for a safe takeoff and climb. Ice is considered to be a contaminant, and once the de-icing fluid is applied, the ice will be removed so it does not impact flight performance, keeping the surfaces of the aircraft from any irregularities so that airflow can be smooth around the airplane as if it were a sunny day. Today we'll be using fluid-based de-icing. There are several types of de-icing fluid that can be used. Type 1 provides the lowest viscosity. Today, I believe that we'll be using Type 4, which provides the longest holdover time. Holdover time is the time from the completion of de-icing to taking off. Since we're really close to the departure runway, we'll be in the air within minutes of completing de-icing. The fluid will remain on the aircraft to prevent further ice from accumulating on the surface. For those planes that got de-iced near the terminal, they need to be ensured that they'll have a quick taxi to the runway before the holdover time runs out and they need to go back and get de-iced again. It's our turn now. A spot has opened up and the Iceman is calling us to proceed into that spot. We can now move forward. Once we come to a stop, the engines are shut down and the air conditioning is turned off so it can get quite hot inside the cabin. We don't want anything on that could potentially ingest outside air, bringing de-icing fluid into the cabin. Once complete, the engines will be switched back on and the AC will come back on. There's nothing for anyone inside the plane to do except observe. The safety of this plane is now in control of the ground workers who will apply the fluid. Let's get de-iced. Fascinating to watch. Okay, it's done. We've been de-iced. The various colors and fluid represent the type of fluid being used. It looks like we used more than one type today. Now that we're done and the trucks have moved away, the engines have been restarted and the AC is back on. We're now ready to taxi to runway 13 and are positioned at taxiway Double Delta. It's time to check back in with the FAA's LaGuardia ground control for taxi clearance to the runway.
Ground Delta 1305 on Delta short of golf.
1305, Roger, 8 if Lima's turn, advise when you have that. 13 by left golf.
All right, runway 13, left turn on golf. We do have information, Lima Delta 1305.
Thank you. Come on, tower. Have a nice day. See you.
Over tower now, Delta 1305. Get it?
Bye.
We checked back in and the controller verified that we have the latest airport information, which is currently called Lima. We're on taxiway Double Delta and we're holding short of taxiway Golf, and the controller told us that we can turn left onto taxiway Golf, which will lead all the way to runway 13. He also said we can monitor the control tower frequency, which is an indicator to me that we're going to get out well before our holdover time expires. The time now is 2:58 p.m. We were scheduled to leave the gate at 1:35 p.m., but we didn't start our initial taxi until 2:30 p.m. The good news is that we'll be in the air in just a few minutes, but we'll have a rather delayed arrival to Orlando today. Since we're already 20 minutes into this video, I'll show the arrival into Orlando in a separate video, and once we land, things are not going to look pretty despite the perfect weather down there. Once we touch down, we'll encounter another big delay, but you'll have to stay tuned to find out what happened there. For now, we're fully configured for takeoff, but there's still one more thing that has to happen. We need to perform an ice shedding run-up. This means that once we come to a stop, we need to spool up the engines with the brakes applied to shed some ice. This will remove ice from the fan blades or other surfaces so that they become clear. This should last around 60 seconds or so, and once complete, we'll be good to take off. There mustn't be any aircraft behind us when we do this, because a lot of jet blasts will be coming out. So today, this will be done on the runway itself. But before we get on the runway, the pilot makes an announcement to anybody who's listening to indicate that we will be airborne momentarily.
Attendants, please prepare the cabin for departure.
In a moment, the tower controller is going to call us and tell us to line up and wait on runway 13 and that traffic will land on runway 4. The pilot will acknowledge the line up and wait, but what I thought was a little odd is that in his initial communication with the tower, he didn't mention that we need to do ice shedding on the runway itself. Typically at LaGuardia, when you get into position, you're ready for takeoff, although we are the only departure, so we can sit on the runway without disrupting traffic, and perhaps the tower has an understanding that some planes are doing their ice shedding run-ups on the runway. In any case, here comes the tower telling us to enter runway 13.
Delta 1305, LaGuardia Tower, runway 13, line up, wait, traffic lands 4.
13, line up and wait, Delta 1305.
The controller said that traffic will land on runway 4, and typically, once that plane lands and clears the runway, the tower issues takeoff clearance to the plane in position on runway 13. The plane landing on runway 4 is Delta 527. He's slowing down, and we'll be able to vacate runway 4 before the intersection with our runway. The controller sees that he can clear runway 4 at taxiway Papa, so he'll tell him to turn right on Papa and to contact ground control.
Delta 527, right turn Papa, contact ground.
Right turn Papa, ground, Delta 527.
Now, instead of issuing us takeoff clearance right away, the tower asks if we're ready, and the pilot says we need 30 seconds for ice shedding.
Delta 1305, you ready to go?
Just need 30 seconds for ice shedding, but yeah, Delta 1305.
All right, advise when the ice shedding is complete.
Flip go.
Okay, we're about to come to a stop in position on the runway and run up the engines for ice shedding. Let's listen in to the ice shedding experience.
Ice shedding complete, Delta 1305.
Delta 1305, roger, hold position, traffic will land 4.
Alright, we'll hold position, Delta 1305.
Ice shedding is complete. That was a unique runway experience for sure. The tower told us to hold position because there's a plane landing on runway 4 now. Just like the previous plane, this plane, Delta 2465, will be told to turn right on taxiway Papa, which is before the intersection with our runway, and to contact ground control. Delta 2465 will report good braking action, and then the tower will tell us that the next arrival is more than 10 miles out. The runway visual range for our 7,000-foot runway is more than 6,000 feet, and we're clear for takeoff. With that command, we'll start our takeoff roll. During the roll, the tower will talk to a vehicle that will enter the runway behind us. That vehicle is Car 90, which is a vehicle call sign that's been used for decades at LaGuardia. That vehicle will be doing a surface check of the runway, and the tower indicated that Endeavour Air will line up behind.
Delta 2465, right turn pop, contact ground.
Right turn pop over the ground, Delta 2465, good braking action.
Thank you, sir. Delta 1305, traffic 10 out, runway 13, all routes more than 6,000. You are clear for takeoff.
Okay, runway 13, clear for takeoff, Delta 1305.
LaGuardia Tower, Car 90, hold shuttle 138 to approach us, surface 5180.
Alright, Car 90, use caution that Endeavour there is going to line up and wait. Runway 13, proceed on the runway full length.
Car 90, proceeding on 13, full length.
I can't see anything. Now you can see why it really didn't matter which side of the plane to sit on today. It's time to get handed off to the departure controller.
Delta 1305, contact departure.
Over departure, Delta 1305.
I doubt that the tower can see us, and neither can the next controller, who is located at a radar facility out in Long Island called the New York Takeoff. Let's check in while we make our right turn to 180 degrees on the Coney climb.
Departure, good afternoon, Delta 1305, 2,000, Columbus 5,000 on the Coney climb.
Delta 1305, New York radar contact, climb maintain 10,000.
Climb maintain 10,000, Delta 1305.
Delta 2348, climb maintain 15,000, contact New York 120.85.
15,000, 2085, Delta 2348.
We're told to climb to 10,000 feet, while the previous Delta departure was told to climb to 15,000 feet and switch over to another frequency. Now, another aircraft is going to check in on this frequency.
Good afternoon, JetBlue 251, 5.3, climbing 7,270 on the heading assigned.
JetBlue 251, New York departure, flight in 250, climb maintain 15,000.
250, 15,000, JetBlue 251.
JetBlue 251 is actually a departure out of Westchester County Airport, headed down to Fort Myers, Florida, and because it's passing through LaGuardia's airspace, he's in touch with the LaGuardia departure controller. But for now, we fly the Coney climb. We fly this heading of 180 degrees until we reach 4.1 miles south of LaGuardia, where we intercept the 043 radial of the Canarsie VOR navigational aid and proceed to the Canarsie VOR, which is located just north of the Jamaica Bay Riding Academy on the west side of Jamaica Bay. We won't really notice this turn because of the clouds. Once directly over the Canarsie VOR, we just continue in the direction that we're flying in, which is 223 degrees, and we can await clearance to our initial departure fix of white. Now, both JetBlue from Westchester and us are going to get handoffs to other controllers. JetBlue is headed more to the west, so he gets handed off to a western sector, and we get headed off to a southern sector.
JetBlue 251, contact New York departure 120.85. Have a good night.
20.85, have a good one, JetBlue 251.
Delta 1305, contact New York departure 124.75. Have a good day.
2475 now, Delta 1305, good day.
Let's check in with our next controller.
Departure, good afternoon, Delta 1305, 4.9, climb in 10,000.
Delta 1305, New York departure, climb maintain 17,000. Reports of light turbulence above 14.
Alright, climb maintain 17,000, Delta 1305.
She's assigned us the higher altitude, and she also reported that there should be upcoming turbulence. Well, to be honest with you, I didn't feel anything at all during the climb. This was a very, very smooth flight. I'm glad I'm flying now and not later in the day. But flying later in the day, of course, would have been impossible since all flights were canceled. This is going to be the view for nearly the entire climb. We should be seeing JFK Airport off to the left, followed by Jamaica Bay and then the Atlantic Ocean, but that's not happening today. Since we're just flying to the south in the clouds awaiting clearance to the white intersection in New Jersey, there's not much more to see, and we've left LaGuardia's de-icing excitement, so I'm going to end the video here. But you have to stay tuned, because you'd imagine that once we land in Orlando, we could simply get off the plane and enjoy the warm Florida weather. That's not going to happen, so stay tuned for part 2 of my very long journey from LaGuardia to Orlando on this winter day. How will you know when the video is out? Well, make sure you click on the subscribe button below and click on the bell button so that you're alerted as to when that video is launched.
Thanks for joining me on this IROPS day out of LaGuardia Airport, and I hope to see you in the sky real soon.
Delta 1305, proceed direct white.
Direct white, Delta 1305.
Delta 1305, contact New York Center 118.9 or 7.
1897, Delta 1305.